I have been fascinated by all of the layered postal collage cards I've seen floating around the internet, and I finally decided to try making my own version as an SVG. To be honest with you, I wasn't sure how this was going to turn out, but today I'm sharing the finished file with you, completely free, and showing you how I'm using it to create a card with some of my favorite supplies. Hey everyone, it's Lean from coloradolean.com. Welcome back to the craft room. Let's get started by uploading the file into Cricut Design Space. After you download it to your computer, come over to Upload, Upload Image, and on this screen we can either drag and drop our file here, or we can choose Browse. Then we'll select our file and click Open. Once we see our uploaded image, go ahead and click Continue. And from here, we can change the name, add tags, or add it to a collection. Once you have all that finished, come over and hit Upload. The first thing we want to do is ungroup our image. Now, I have created this to be 5 inches tall by 3 3/4 inches wide. If you would like to create a larger size, that is very easy to do. Go ahead and highlight both images and then align to the center. Then we'll come up to size. And let's make this 5 1/4 inches. Now you'll notice here on the height, it did not change to 4 inches tall. So let's go ahead and unlock our ratio. And then we will just manually change that and then lock the ratio back. I went back to 3 3/4 by 5 inches. And in order to get this to print on one sheet of paper, I'm going to highlight one of my images. And then I will come up to Operation. I will choose the color, and then I'll change it to match the other layer. Once we have our Cricut turned on, and today I'm using the Cricut Explorer Air 2, we'll go ahead and click Make. I am going to save my project. I will be cutting this on a 12 by 12 mat. And as you can see, I have both of my layers here. I just need to make sure I have a piece of cardstock that is at least 10.5 inches long by 4 1/4 inches wide. So let's go ahead and click Continue. On this screen, we're going to go ahead and choose our base material. I'm going to be using a piece of Strathmore Bristol Vellum surface, which is a rather heavy cardstock. So I'm going to use 100 pound. And I will be cutting that with the default pressure. I'm going to go ahead and load my mat into my Cricut machine, and I'll meet you back at the craft desk when it's done cutting. Now that our Cricut machine has finished cutting our file, let's go ahead and remove it from the cutting mat. As always, it's best to turn your mat over and peel the items off that way. With my Postal Collage SVG, not only will you receive the portion that looks like a collage of postal stamps, but I have also included a frame. Now you can use this frame in a few different ways. Today I'm going to be using it as a mask to cover up the perforation holes so that I can do some ink blending and stamping without ruining the rest of the card. As a result of cutting the frame, you will also have these pieces of cardstock left over. And they do match up perfectly. So if you wanted to do your stamping and inking on these pieces and then layer them on, that would be another really interesting look to this design. But for today, I am going to set these aside. And let's bring in some supplies to do some ink blending. Now, I don't want this piece to go anywhere while I'm blending, so I'm going to put it down onto a piece of the media grip mat. And then I'm going to use a few pieces of tape to hold down my frame. For my inks today, I'm going to be working with antique linen and tea dye from Tim Holtz. I'm going to be using one of my waffle flower blending brushes, as well as a smaller makeup blending brush. I would like to get an all-over blend with the antique linen. I'm going to come in with the tea dye and just do a little bit of blending in the corners and on the sides. Now this is moving around a little bit on me, so maybe a couple more pieces of tape would be a good idea. There, that looks perfect. A little bit of color, a little bit of antiquing on the sides. The images I'm going to be using today are from the Inkadinkado Meadow stamp set. I just love these silhouette stamps. To get everything stamped perfectly, of course, I'm going to be using my original Misti from My Sweet Petunia. And then I'll be using Gina K Designs Amalgam Ink. I'm also going to be incorporating a stamp press that my husband made for me. I also want to make sure I have my inked background as well as my frame. To set this up, I'm going to place my image in the middle of the Misti, and I'm going to use some of the Spellbinders Best Ever Craft Tape, and I am going to tape this down. Now, again, I am just doing this on the very edges. Now I'm going to bring in my frame and line this back up again. And I'm going to be using a couple pieces of painter's tape to hold this down as well. Now this portion of the project is a little bit fiddly, but the results are totally worth it. I'm going to go ahead and start with this bottom layer here. And I'm going to use this beautiful stamp. I am also going to put just a piece of scratch paper here. So I've already inked up my Misti mat, and I really don't want to do any more if I can help it. So I will put that there, pick it up with my lid. Now, after the first press, you can see where the stamp did not get, where the image did not get stamped around the bottom of that frame. So that is why we want to bring in a stamp press to help get even pressure on the entire piece. And we may have to stamp this 2 or 3 times. And that magnet may have been an issue as well. All right, I'm going to do one more press. Now, it is not going to be perfect. And for me, that is okay. And there is our finished stamp collage. I really like how this one turned out. So I'm going to go ahead and set this aside for just a few minutes, get my hands washed up, and then we'll be back and put our card together. My card front has been sitting for a while and it is completely dry. So we'll set that aside for just a moment. For my card base, I am using a piece of 110-pound Recollections cardstock. This is the brown from the Coffee and Cream paper pack. It is 8.5 inches wide by 5.5 inches tall, scored down the middle at 4 1/4. I have a extra piece of the Strathmore Bristol Vellum surface cardstock that I'm going to use on the inside. I have cut this to 5 1/4 inches tall by 4 inches wide. I did add a little bit of the antique linen and the tea dye around the edges just to kind of coordinate with the card front. So let's go ahead and get this stuck down into the card. And I'm using my all-time favorite 1/4 inch score tape for this. This would look really pretty just adhered to the card front. However, I am going to put a little bit of foam tape behind it. And after rummaging through my craft desk, I did come across some 3M foam tape. I don't have very much left, but I think it will be enough for our project. Now, I don't want to use too much, but I do want to make sure that all of my corners have foam tape, and then a few pieces down the center as well. I am really looking forward to the end of September for the Stamp and Scrapbook Expo. It will be in Loveland, Colorado this year. And I am seriously thinking about getting that ginormous roll of foam tape. I don't use foam tape very often, mostly because I don't have a lot of it. But I don't know. I'm going to take a look at it. And if they have a thin version of it, like the thin foam squares that I typically use, if they have that, then I will seriously consider picking up a roll. And then, as usual, I'm also going to put a little bit of art glitter glue onto the foam tape. And that will give me a chance to move this around on my card front. And then we will line this up. Now, again, my panel is 3 3/4 inches wide by 5 inches tall. So there is a really nice border around the edge. And for sentiment, I think this time I am going to leave it blank for now. And when I need this card, I will put a sentiment on there. In fact, if I were to use this for a birthday card, then I would put happy birthday inside. And on the outside, I could print special delivery, maybe with some postage images like the cancellation stamps. That is the one thing I wish I had, was like the cancellation stamps. That would be really cool. And something I just might put on my list for the expo. And that's a wrap on today's project. I really love how this turned out. The possibilities with this Postal Collage SVG are honestly endless. You can do like I did and keep it vintage. You could go bright and modern, whatever fits your style. If you'd like to give this a try, you can find the free SVG file linked down in the description, and it's also available over on the blog post at coloradolean.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up, share it with a crafty friend, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'll see you next time. Happy crafting!